Welcome to Performance Dynamics, the podcast that plunges into the fascinating elements that fuel success in both sports and business. Join your hosts Gareth Ewing and Joe Mountford as we uncover the mental fortitude, mindset mastery, and psychological intricacies that can propel you to new heights. In the 7th episode, Gareth and I welcome Mandy Herold to our conversation as a fellow Clifton Strengths Coach. Mandy is a dynamic former school principal who has transitioned into a thriving career as a performance coach and professional speaker. Her passion for connection, Clifton Strengths, and brave leadership drives everything she does. With 25 years of experience in the education sector, Mandy has transformed her expertise into a proud small business and entrepreneurial journey. Her energetic and authentic approach sets her apart. She's a true catalyst for change, helping groups feel both safe and seen. In today's episode, we delve into the world of Clifton Strengths, an incredible tool that helps individuals and teams discover their unique talents and leverage them for success. Join us as we introduce Clifton Strengths and discuss its significance within a corporate principle. We're excited to share our top 5 strengths as coaches, diving into how these talents shape our coaching styles and impact our interactions with clients. Together, we'll unpack thought-provoking questions that encourage reflection on how strengths can complement one another, even when they differ. Gareth and Mandy are a married couple and fellow coaches, and they will illustrate this point. They'll share their experiences of how they blend their distinct strengths to create harmony and synergy in both their personal and professional lives. So whether you're a seasoned coach, a corporate leader, or someone curious about personal development, this episode is packed with insights that can help you harness the power of your unique strengths. So let's dive in. And before we get started, just a reminder to like and share this podcast if you're enjoying it, and that you'll find our contact details in the description. So welcome to Gareth. Nice to see you again.
Hello, Joe. It's always nice to get online with you again and talk about performance and strengths and gazing red to blue. So yeah, really, really nice to see you again.
Lovely to see you too. And today we have a beautiful special guest, Mandy Herold. And Mandy is married to Gareth. And today we'll be introducing Clifton Strengths to the community, as we are all certified Clifton Strengths coaches. So welcome, Mans, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I often listen to you two, and I have a little bit of FOMO that I'm not in the room. So yay, today I'm in the room.
Oh, fantastic. So just to let the audience know how we're going to introduce the Clifton Strengths is I will give a bit of a description of what Clifton Strengths is, and then we will share our top 5 strengths, just a little bit of a description, and then we will use you two as an example of how your strengths they're fairly opposite strengths, so how they can complement each other and how you can have a successful outcome. So through our own experiences of Clifton Strengths, we've worked with individuals and teams, and collectively we've worked with athletes individually as in teams. Mans, you've worked with schools, and we've all worked with corporate. And we don't forget about the very system that we're all in, and that's families. So it's a wonderful tool that can be used in all of those areas. Would either of you two like to add anything about that at this stage?
Yeah, Joe, I think that you and I speak about strengths all the time, and it's probably past due for us to actually go a little bit deeper into what that really means in terms of the product itself and also the mindset around the coaching of that. So yeah, I think it will be an interesting conversation and a little bit of detail at the beginning, which I think is really important. But once we dive into the examples, hopefully things will get really interesting.
Yeah, fantastic. And I'm really happy that we're introducing one of the tools that we use. So just a bit of admin at the beginning. So what is Clifton Strengths? And it used to be known as Strengths Finder. So it's a personal development tool created by the Gallup organization. And it's a psychometric assessment that can be taken and it's designed to help individuals identify their unique strengths and talents. So if we start with Garreth and Mans, if we say Clifton Strengths is a strengths-based development tool, that is suggesting that we don't focus on weaknesses or develop our weaknesses. What would you say about that?
Garreth, go ahead.
So, I mean, I think for me, it's often summed up by, that quote that we always go back to by Don Clifton. Imagine we focus on what's right with people instead of fixating on what's wrong with them. And, as the man who ultimately invented the assessment in the first place, it's about finding out what people are already good at and helping them to be even better in that space. We all have natural talents that we will go to on an unconscious level or a subconscious level, just how we show up when we are having a good day, when we are high performing, and now taking that and using those talents deliberately will turn them into strengths. So rather than, we often say as well, your strengths are your areas of development. The energy you will expend on maximizing your strengths versus trying to fix your weaknesses. If you think about it in that expenditure model, it can just make so much more sense to really focus on doing what you do really, really well.
Mans?
Yeah, I talk about the brain all the time, Joe. Your brain is a magnet for negativity. It's your brain's job to keep you safe, not make you happy. So it's much quicker to say, this is what I'm not doing well. This is what I'm bad at. These are my weaknesses, and almost like obsess about them. With Clifton Strengths, however, understanding your top 5 strengths, or as you've said, there are 34. We all have all 34. It's about understanding where we go to naturally and best and really elevating that, and also understanding where our blind spots are. Because as Garreth said, your greatest strengths are your greatest areas of development. And so for me, it's about understanding the brain, and it's about giving yourself language and permission to celebrate yourself more.
That is so lovely, because Garreth and I have mentioned in our podcast before so much about self-awareness. And I know when I did this assessment many years ago, it was a wonderful tool to start developing self-awareness, so that it gave me a language, as you said, and an understanding of why I do the things I do and how I can express that to others, wherever it is, whether it's in the family, whether it's in a team, whether it was in a working environment, so that I could share, this is what I'm good at, and this is where I'm most comfortable, and I will probably be more dynamic doing this than that. And then being able to ask others, where do they feel happiest? And so that's what we're going to get into. So that people understand a little bit more what we're talking about. And as Mandy said, there are 34 strengths, and we will talk about it's quite cool because we don't have very many similar ones. So we will be able to elaborate on our different ones. So who would like to start? Should we start with you, Garreth? Would we like to start with your top 5? And just give a small description on each of them.
Sure, Joe. So, I mean, I think the first thing to say up front, just as a quick reminder, that there are 4 talent domains. There's executing, relationship building, influencing, and strategic thinking. And we'll get a little bit into that as we go. So just remember that your strengths could potentially fall under one of those 4 categories. So my top 5 is restorative, responsibility, ideation, learner, and command. So I lead with restorative and responsibility, which are executing strengths. Then I have ideation and learner, which are strategic thinking strengths. And then I have command at number 5, which is an influencing strength. So when I think about my profile, what it tells me about myself, or what it tells other people about me, perhaps, is that I'm a problem solver who likes to communicate and share in ideas and learning over a period of time, who also shows up and delivers on the things that he says he's going to deliver on. And my leadership comes through in my command, which is I take charge of a situation and I'm willing to lead the way on things, which takes that responsibility of taking the first step away from other people. So that's kind of the things I think about when I think about my profile. My restorative is very strong. I need to be a little bit careful, and we'll talk about this later as well, of seeing the problems first and always finding problems as opposed to going, in fact, how can I just make things even better than they already are? And yeah, I love my profile. I love to talk about my profile and use it as an example. And I think, asking Mandy to chime in just now, she'll be able to talk about how my profile really does speak to how I show up on a daily basis.
Can I just say something, which is because I'm like the outsider, so to speak. Another thing that people need to understand is that with our strengths, we can say that they either help us or hinder us, or they either working in the balcony or the basement, or they're mature or they're immature. And if we look at restorative as an outsider who doesn't understand what it means, and what it means for Garreth is, it's, as you said, you have huge enjoyment in finding the problem and looking for the solution. Okay. Whereas some people could see you being negative and always looking for the problem. Yet if you were able to communicate, no, I'm not looking for a problem, I'm wanting to make it better by finding the problem so we can fix it. And so having that language to be able to communicate to the people around you gives clarity and understanding.
Yeah, I like that a lot, Joe. And yeah, as I said, we'll go into it a little bit more deeply, and it's interesting that you say that, because my restorative is in its basement is, this is a problem, I need to fix it, I need to take it on, because my responsibility chimes in and goes, I'll look after this, I'll make sure that everything gets sorted out, as opposed to going, let me take the responsibility for improving this situation for everybody involved. And you can just see how the difference in that language around it can be very powerful and very influential in a group space. If people know I'm going to go to Garreth because Gareth's probably already seen the problems and he's already worked out how we're going to fix them, I save everybody time and energy.
Mm.
And that can be really, really useful. And that's where the beauty of the language around Clifton Strengths is so powerful, because it gives you words to talk about yourself at your best. And it helps the people around you see you at your best.
True story. So Mans, you can absolutely back that. But would you like to respond to Garreth, or would you like to talk about your strengths first and then how it connects with Garreth?
Let me talk about my strengths first, and then we can talk about each other as we see through a strengths-based lens. So as Garreth was saying, those talent domains, so they're color-coded, and they can often feel a little bit confusing. So I just want to say, Joe, for your listeners, wherever they're at, wherever they're at on their learning journey, just to be open-hearted in whatever information is meant to land for them, as opposed to getting caught up in the terminology and which domain and which color. And so if that's helpful for you, I'll leave it there. So my strengths profile is predominantly in the relationship building and in the influencing domain. So I lead with positivity, which is a relationship building theme. It's about bringing contagious energy, joy on purpose, very much glass half full most of the time. Then I have activator, maximizer, which is an interesting combination just in and of itself. Activator is an influencing theme, as is maximizer. Activator is about just doing it. See, like less. I often say, Joe, we've got a South African term that says less yada yada, more ching ching. So like less talk, more action. So stop yapping and let's just do this thing. So that's in the influencing domain. Then at number 3, I've got maximizing. So maximizer, which takes something good and wants to make it even better. Then number 4, adaptability, which is a relationship building theme. Adaptability sees every person for where they're at, is like a go with the flow person here and now. And I really am leaning more and more into my adaptability as a superpower. I really feel that it helps people to feel safe and seen. And it connects really nicely into what I'm doing at the moment in my career. And then connectedness, wrapping up my top 5, also in the relationship building domain. Connectedness believes that there are very few coincidences, and that every event or everything has some meaning. So energetically, that connectedness is also, it could be perceived as a little bit of woo-woo, but connectedness loves to be part of a bigger family, team, project, community, likes that sense of belonging.
Yeah. And Mandy, if we could just go back to the adaptability, I think, especially in the world that we're living at the moment with such high levels of anxiety, and if we look at the children that we have and the children that you've taught before, is adaptability is not something that everybody has. And why it's such a powerful strength is that I know people with a lot of anxiety like to have structure, and they like to have things in control, and they want to have a sense of predictability. Whereas somebody with adaptability, when the change comes, you're not totally flustered. You're able to change direction, keep the goal in mind, and lead with your positivity. Like, cool, it doesn't matter, that's an inconvenience or whatever it is, but let's grab it and go. So if somebody's got someone like you in a team, go to that person who has adaptability if you're struggling with the change. Would you agree?
100%. 100%. And Garreth and I often say anxiety needs information. And think about that, like when you don't have access to the information. Think about a small child, separation anxiety. Think about a bigger child, team selection, sport, exams, pressure, that like not be like needing that sense of predictability is, yeah, it certainly is very valid, Joe.
Yeah. Okay.
I like to talk about adaptability as it actually gives the people around you. It's a really good leadership strength, because it gives the people around you a little bit of safety. They see you adapting. They see you not being overwhelmed, and it gives them the opportunity to relax, because if you're handling it, they know they can handle it too.
Yeah. Wonderful. Okay. So would you two like to share how your opposite strength, I don't want to say opposite strengths because there's no necessarily an opposite strength, but how your strengths could potentially clash, however, having the awareness, how you've managed to work them together and support each other?
So I think if you held our profiles up as examples, you would really think they were quite opposite. Mandy, really leading with relationship building, and activator maximizer is such a powerful combination. And it can also be quite a dangerous combination, because, it's just go, go, go. Nothing's ever good enough. We're going to keep going till we get it right. And that can be quite overwhelming for people. But I think if you look at our profiles together, it's important to think in terms of dovetailing. So I'll fill in Mandy's gaps. Mandy's positivity can often take away from practicality, can often take away from pragmatic thought, whereas my restorative will go, hang on a second, what about this? And that will just be a little bit of a handbrake on it. So that's an easy one up front for us to say restorative and positivity together can be really good, because positivity will say, it's okay if we haven't fixed all the problems, we can still go ahead. Whereas restorative will say to positivity, we do need to think a little bit about the rainy day, and we do need to be careful of what's going to happen if something goes wrong. So they can work quite well together. I think
And
that
Gareth, can I chip in there also with activator? Because with activator, it's like jump starting and just like, let's get this going, let that going. And having the restorative, again, is just pulling back the brakes, just checking where there could be some speed bumps in the road so that you're not wasting your time, energy, and your enthusiasm, because man, you've got incredible positivity and enthusiasm. But if you keep giving of all your energy and it's not landing on the right projects, let's call them, then you're depleting yourself. And I think you understand that feeling, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
which one, Mans, do you like of our combinations together?
So I love your ideation from a strategic thinking perspective, that you can think outside the box. You love coming up with something new. I think your ideation and my activator are a really good combination. And there again, Joe, there's so many things here that are about like where you're at and the settings. I mean, we are each other's best people in the world. Gareth's my person. We married. We do some business work together, and also we've realized this year is that we also need time apart. So when we have got a little bit of space, like Gareth said to me earlier, let's go and have a coffee. When we feel that we are having a walk and talk, I love those times, because Gareth's ideation is able to percolate, and then my activator says, how do we take some of those ideas and create action around them? So those are the two that I would like to highlight.
And Mans, if I can say, I think for someone with ideation, so it's a very creative theme, and the person with ideation, as you said, needs time alone. They need time to be creative in their thoughts, and then the joy would be bouncing them off somebody else, so like brainstorming or sharing them on your walk and talk. But it's important that the ideation does get time alone without distractions, so that they can be the best, get the best out of their ideation and be creative. Gareth, is that accurate? I mean, you love brainstorming with others, but you do need time to be creative in your head.
Yeah, it's definitely a combination of those two things. At some point, you've got to be able to share it and bring it out, but it needs time to settle in. The one that I'm thinking about now, which I find probably comes up in our relationship a bit more often than we even notice, is Mandy's connectedness and my command. Because command can be quite loud with me, and command just takes charge and doesn't consult. Whereas connectedness very much is aware of everybody's role in a situation, and everybody's role in a process. And being able to see how everything fits together is useful when your command starts going, I'm going to do this. I don't care if people come with me or not. And I think that's quite a useful one to keep an eye on.
Yeah. And if you look at man's themes, many of them partner nicely with empathy. So, and with your connectedness and your positivity and all that, there's a huge connection to empathy. And if people don't understand command, you can come across as quite rude, because so someone with command will say, we'll talk about the elephant in the room. They will say what needs to be said. So, for example, if you're in a team and you may be a little bit shy and you don't necessarily want to say what the obvious is, Garreth will say that, and he feels nothing about that. And maybe that's where you tame it, Mans, like, okay, maybe not here. Maybe this is not the audience for that. But also somebody with command, if they've got your back, they will have your back 100%. So as a coach, like you were, the people in the team know, yeah, he can be quite direct, but it's in my best interest and it's for the best interest of the team. Does that make sense?
100%.
Absolutely. And you know what I'm just reflecting on, Joe, and we'll probably come back to this a bit later as well, is that you gave Mandy and I an opportunity to talk about ourselves. All right. And that's so important, actually. And like, yes, we're used to talking and we're used to describing ourselves in strength terms, but you gave us permission and we could use this language to talk very favorably about ourselves. And isn't that just such a wonderful thing to be able to do in the world where we are all told not to talk ourselves up? We're all told not to talk about ourselves in a positive way. And this is one of the best parts about the Clifton Strengths tool, is that it gives you language to talk about yourself at your best. And on that subject, I really want to hear what your top 5 is, so we can hear you talk about yourself as well, please.
Okie doke. So my top strengths, number 1 is harmony, and then responsibility, learner, belief, and relator. So I have a combination of relationship building strengths, executing, and 1 in the strategic thinking domain. And when I first received my strengths, I didn't really understand them. I didn't understand how they landed with me. But harmony is both my strength and my weakness. But now that I'm aware of what it is, I have learned so much about. It's probably been the greatest gift ever to understand what it means. So for anybody who doesn't understand what harmony means, is harmony is always trying to find consensus. It's trying to eliminate disharmony. It's trying to, if we have a goal to reach, it's trying to find the best way forward and minimizing that what I would see as unnecessary conflict in order to reach the goal. So many leaders who get harmony, I don't know if it's in your experiences as well, in the business world, when they get harmony in their top 5, they're really disappointed. And when you explain to them, it is such a critical skill to have, especially as a leader, that you're able to keep the team working like a well-oiled clock, because you're minimizing flare-ups of unnecessary conflict. When I was younger and I didn't understand harmony, it was in its basement, or when it's immature, I am people-pleasing. I'm avoiding conflict at all costs because it creates anxiety for me if there's conflict and drama. And so I would then agree to things that I didn't necessarily want to do. And so my boundaries were maybe a little bit flexible. Once I now know what harmony means, and I just say no is a full sentence, and I'm able to use that. But it's just the learning about and being more assertive. The responsibility, which is the same as Gareth's, again, it's definitely one of my top strengths. I always want to do my best for people. I never want to disappoint others. And then I expect the same in return. If I'm putting X in, then I really don't want others to disappoint me either. So it's a big kind of high performing one. When it's in its basement, it's the inability to say no. And it's taking on too many tasks, putting your hand up for stuff because you want to help and you want to be involved. And mine's not a controlling thing. It's not that I want to take it on to be controlling. It's more, again, the people pleasing. That's what I think it is. So it's the ability to say no and to focus on the things that I can do. And again, it's a huge awareness that comes. Learner and belief, I didn't believe I had. But once I understood what it meant, learner, I was a bad academic at school, so I didn't understand how learner popped in. But learner is not about being an intellectual. It's about loving the journey, loving the process, doing as many courses I can get my grubby hands onto and be involved in. This year, I've had to say I'm not doing another course just because I can take on too many. But again, I'm not searching for an A or a certificate. It's just I love the process of learning, and then my belief is definitely it's my values. It's all about my values. And when I first did my course, I never understood. I thought everybody made decisions based on their values. That you make a decision because that's what you believe in. And then I realized the business world was definitely not like that. And I woke up quite wildly there. And then let's talk about relationships. So my last theme is relator. I mean, my fifth strength is relator, and it's a relationship building theme. And it's I get my energy from time within. So my battery gets filled when I'm able to be on my own. I do enjoy people. I enjoy spending time with people, but I'll choose people that are similar to me. And that's not a snobby thing. It's more of similar interests. I can do a cocktail party, but I'll try and find people that are like-minded. And then I'm married to somebody who's got woo in their top 5. So woo is an influencing theme. He loves people. He's energized through other people. He could go from a rugby match to a cocktail party to another thing, and I'm done after the rugby match. So you can see how that could cause conflict within a relationship, but by communicating like, I'm depleted now, please can I just go and recharge? You're welcome to carry on to that, and I'll join you in the next whatever. So so those are my top 5, and I probably like my harmony the best, to be honest.
Thanks, Joe. And isn't it just it's so interesting again to see just in 3 people, yes, 2 of us are close, but married together, but 3 people, completely different profiles, completely different areas of talent. And the beauty of this, imagine if the 3 of us were a team, what kind of conversations we can have over how to aim and deploy each other's strengths to support the others, and also to just bring out the best in each other. I think it's such an interesting way of looking at how each profile brings something very unique to a situation.
I have a question, Joe, about your belief. Some people that I've been coaching in the last little while with belief in their top 5 appear to be quite black and white in their approach to decision making and their levels of tolerance. And I'm curious, because you've got harmony at number 1, like is that something that, I mean, is it something that you come across in yourself from a values point of view?
So it's a great question, Mans. And I think the greatest lesson I learned before I knew about belief was when I started yoga. And yoga is all about being non-judgmental. And so, no, I'm definitely not a black and white thinker. I listen very much to people, and I listen to their views. And if you look at the harmony, if I don't believe in their views, I don't bang my opinion forward, because I'm okay within me. I'm totally okay with who I am, what I believe, what makes me feel okay, that I don't feel I need to then try and influence them. If that makes sense, if that's answering your question. My core values are mine, and I don't feel like I need to hold up a poster to tell anybody else. But I suppose it depends on the topic. If it was animal-based or about my girls, and it was, I'm not sure. That could be a bit black and white.
And yeah, Joe, that's so interesting. I have one more question around the maturity, and how if you, Joe, are coaching somebody younger or someone older, do you look at them in terms of maturity? Do you highlight their strengths in terms of maturity?
One, I'd meet them where they're at, and probably children they're greater sponges, and they're so open to hearing another way or the best way forward or other options. They grab any information with both hands. Whereas I'm not sure if you both agree with me. You've both worked with older and younger. What would you say?
Gareth?
I think you it's a really interesting question, a really interesting conversation. And I think for the point of view of those of us who are listening in and perhaps still just getting their heads around what strengths means, is that the awareness of your strength will influence how you respond to it and how you start to aim it. So as soon as we start this conversation and as soon as we reveal the profile and we start to use the language, then we can start to really think and talk about those strengths in really mature terms and in really deliberate terms. And that makes a difference, A, to how strong those strengths can potentially get, and B, how people can start to see how they interact with the world. And that, again, is that step towards self-awareness.
Mm.
But let's talk about, sorry, after you.
Sorry, Garrett, just quickly, for me, the relator is an interesting one, maturity, immaturity. So our 18-year-old has got relator in his top 5. And I think that for many teams and individuals in teams, I've just done a team in the Netherlands, like 19 of them, and relator came up in like 12 of their profiles and various ages. And I think that in its basement, which for our listeners, just a reminder that the blind spots are the basement. So when you're overwhelmed, when you're not the best version of yourself, relator can be quite cliquey and like show favorites and leave people out. And I think that again is not necessarily about your age maturation, but about your levels of self-awareness.
Yeah. And comfort. I think it's also about comfort, man. So exactly, like I don't think of myself as shy, yet I do feel overwhelmed when I initially go into a setting that I don't know, and I will search for someone with common ground that I can say rest with, be with, rather than work the room, trying to network with people and trying to that is overwhelming for me. So it can come across as cliquey if I find people that are my sames. In a smaller group, I'm absolutely open to chat to anybody about everything. It's just, I think the size of the group I find overwhelming, and then I go all small. And I think also being brought up in a private school didn't help with that. And it was only when I got to university that I had to learn to branch out, and there was a bigger world than private schools, Yeah. So that was a big thing.
I really like that. Again, this is why the best part about having these conversations is because I've never thought about relator like that in terms of comfort. So I'm going to be taking that and using it.
Can we end our episode there? And for our next episode, which is going to be following on, we're going to talk about how you can go about doing the assessment, what the process looks like, and we look forward to chatting to you then. So thanks for listening, and cheerio, mans. Thank you. Cheerio, Gareth.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Joe.
In episode 8, we will continue the conversation and talk about how to do your Clifton Strengths and how to learn to be the best version of yourself. So please stay listening.